You stand in front of the grand hall of the Yuhang Academy, your fingertips brushing against a freshly carved name on the cold stone tablet. Your name. It's right there on the 1876 Provincial Scholar List, 7th place. Its ink still damp, yet already glowing with the promise of glory. Behind you, the cheers of your fellow candidates erupt like firecrackers. Lee, your oldest friend and drinking buddy, slaps your shoulder so hard his palm is burning hot. Man, Yu Hang hasn't had a scholar like you in a whole decade. Tonight, we're going big. 10 tables at Drunken Immortal Tavern. You can't help but smile and shake your head, your eyes sweeping over the bustling courtyard. A candy seller shouts hoarsely, his voice mixing with the laughter of children chasing a paper kite across the stone path. Near the wall, rickshaw pullers squat in a circle, throwing dice, while in the distance the pagoda's silhouette stretches long and sharp under the fading sunset, like a giant brush soaked in ink, poised to write your future across the sky. 3 days later, the red gates of your ancestral home are dressed for celebration. Golden banners gleam under the sunlight, announcing your triumph. From the threshold, you watch the servants string up 28 glowing lanterns, their warm red light flooding the entire alley. Old Madame Wang from next door waddles over with a basket of jujube cakes, her keyring jangling against her belt. "Young Master Yang," she says with a grin, "my A Chow has always said your calligraphy could fetch 10 taels of silver per sheet." You chuckle, take the cakes with polite hands, and then out of the corner of your eye catch a fleeting figure at the alley's entrance. A young woman in a dress of pale white and green, carefully adjusting her husband's collar. She's new here, one of the tenants who just moved into your west wing. A slender silver hairpin flashes in her bun, glinting like a shard of sunlight. Her name, you later learn, is Lotus. By the 7th night of feasting, you've already made 3 rounds of the banquet tables. Your tolerance for wine has always been solid, but even you feel the world tilting slightly now. Just as you think of slipping away to your study for a moment of quiet, you hear it hoofbeats, urgent, sharp. Before you can process it, 6 bailiffs storm into your courtyard, their Yuhang County magistrate lanterns swinging like angry fireballs. The blades at their waists gleam coldly in the moonlight. Yang Naiwu, the head bailiff's voice cuts through the drunken haze. "You are under arrest for the suspected poisoning of Gay Pinlian. Come with us now." The smell of the arrest warrant's fresh ink mixes harshly with the stale scent of wine. You stagger back, knocking over a porcelain vase, its shards scattering like frozen tears across the floor. Out of the corner of your eye, you catch sight of your mother clutching the doorframe, her face drained of blood and your sister trembling so hard the candle in her hand flickers. "Officers, there must be a mistake," you manage to say, forcing a calm you don't feel. "The gay couple are merely tenants in our west wing. I have no quarrel with them. On the night in question, I was at Lingyan Temple observing a fast. Save it for the magistrate." The head bailiff snaps, shoving you so hard you almost fall. "One more word and I'll put the kang around your neck." As they drag you out, you catch glimpses of the guests around the table, whispering behind their cups, faces pale and avoiding your gaze. Lishit, your closest friend, is frozen mid-toast, his jaw tight as iron. Madame Wang grabs her daughter and hides in the shadows. Even the tea-house owner, who always greets you warmly, is busy blowing out the lantern by his shop door, as if you've suddenly become cursed. The night feels darker than ink. And suddenly you remember yesterday. At the alley's corner, you saw Lotus. She was carrying a bamboo basket, head lowered, the silver hairpin replaced with a plain white flower, a mourning flower. Her husband was already dead then. The county hall looms over you, its plaque reading "Impartial Justice," flickering under the unsteady light of candles. You kneel on the icy blue bricks, feeling the dampness of the cracks even through your clothes. From his high seat, Magistrate Lu Shitong stares down at you, the corners of his lips curling under his sharp mustache. His gaze is as venomous as the day, 3 years ago, when you posted a mocking couplet on the county gate, calling him a turtle official. You can still see that exact glint of humiliation and revenge simmering in his eyes. "Yang Naiwu, do you confess?" The crack of the wooden gavel is deafening, a thunderclap that shakes dust loose from the rafters. You take a slow breath, ready to speak when suddenly a figure is dragged in from behind the screen. Lotus, Her hair is a wild mess, her once white robe stained with dirt, and around her neck is a dark bruise like a noose carved into her flesh. "Your Honor, I swear I'm innocent," you cry, bowing so hard your forehead smashes against the stone floor. A dull pain blooms, but you press on. "I have nothing more than landlord-tenant ties with the Gi family. On the night of his death, I was at Lingyan Temple. The temple steward, the young novice monks, they can all testify." "Enough," Lu sneers, pulling a paper from his desk. "Gi's widow has already confessed. According to this, you and she have been lovers for half a year, plotting together to poison her husband. Here's her confession, sealed with her handprint. What else can you say?" You turn to look at Lotus. Her eyes never meet yours. She stares at the ground as though the floor has swallowed her soul. The flicker of her lashes casts broken shadows across her cheeks. You remember, just last month, she came by to borrow thread and needles, whispering at the doorway, "Young Master Yang, your ink smells wonderful." You recall the twin lotus embroidery on her sleeve. The sound of the night watchman's wooden clapper echoes from outside. It's the third watch now. Your voice trembles as you plead. "Then summon the monks from Lingyin Temple. I'll face them here, in front of the court." Lu's smile hardens into cruelty. "How dare you tell me how to run my court, you adulterer? Guards, 20 strikes with the rod. Let him learn respect. Before you can argue, the bailiffs swarm you. As they pin you down, you catch a flicker of movement. Lotus's shoulders jerk violently, her fingers digging into her palms so hard, you see a fresh wound there, red and raw, curling like a centipede against her pale skin. The first day when the branding iron seared into your back, the smell of your own flesh burning filled your nose. It's a smell you'll never forget, like the time a scroll caught fire in your study last winter, except this time the fire was under your skin. The bailiff pressed the glowing iron onto your wounds to stop the bleeding. You bit down so hard you cracked a molar, spitting out shards of tooth mixed with blood, dark red blooming on the cold stone floor like a cursed flower. The second day, the whips came, soaked in brine. Each strike tore a strip of flesh from your thighs, salt burning its way into every wound. You started counting the lashes, as if numbers could numb the pain. At 17, a memory hit you, a pair of knee pads your sister once stitched for you, embroidered with green bamboo leaves. Now that memory is blurred into nothing but a haze of pain. From the next cell you hear Lotus screaming, her voice hoarse like a song being ripped apart. "Mercy, my lord, mercy." The sound is muffled by blood in her throat, as heavy and suffocating as stones sinking into a dark pond. The third day, they brought out the steel needles. One slid under the nail of your right ring finger, and the pain was so raw it ripped a scream from your throat, an animal sound, guttural and broken. When they yanked the nail clean off, your vision went white. Through the haze you saw a single wutong leaf fluttering down past the barred window, its veins clear as the cruel patterns on the instruments of torture. The bailiff slammed a confession in front of you, the characters written in bright red cinnabar mocking you with its brightness. It read, "The affair is real, the murder is mine, I accept the death penalty." The head bailiff squatted in front of you, his tone oddly soft, almost pitying. "Sign it." Gi's widow confessed this morning. She said you promised to take her as your concubine if she helped you poison her husband. Even your copy of Compendium of Materia Medica is mentioned here. Sign, and the suffering ends. You stare at the paper. The memories flood in, Lotus standing outside your study door, peeking inside. She had been sniffing the faint mix of jasmine from her sleeves, and ink from your brush. You'd casually said, "That's Wang Wei's Wangchuan landscape," and she had smiled faintly, clutching her handkerchief. The steel needle is poised again, this time at your left thumb. You hear your own voice, hoarse and shredded, as if dragged through broken glass. "I'll sign, but only if I can see Lotus, one last time." The notice of your execution goes up on the city wall, and you are left sitting in your damp, dark cell, counting the cracks between the bricks. Tiny patches of moss grow there, soft, pale green, almost the same shade as the trousers Lotus wore when you first met her. Your sister's quilted coat lies folded on the straw beside you. When you press your face into its sleeve, you can still catch a faint trace of soapberry scent, warm and human, as if she's right there, telling you to hold on. Outside, the guards chat idly as they pass your cell. "Yang the scholar's getting the blade, huh? Heard he and that widow, what's her name? Lotus, were caught rolling in the firewood shed, poisoned her man and thought they'd get away with it. Bah, yeah. They say she walks with that snake-like sway. No wonder he lost his head over her. The words stab deeper than any whip. You lurch to your feet, but the sudden motion rips at the wounds on your back, and blackness swarms your vision. From the next cell, you hear a faint rustle. You lean against the wooden bars, whispering, "Lotus, are you there?" A long silence. Then a weak, trembling reply. "Yang. They told me if I name you as the one who made me do it, they'll let me live." Your fingernails dig into the scabs on your palm, the same palm that still bears the scars of the steel needles. The world outside moves on, indifferent. In the distance, the night watch's clapper strikes the rhythm of time, the hour when you used to read by lamplight in your study. And suddenly, you remember. The day before all this, you had passed Gay Pinlian, the husband at the alley corner. He was drenched in sweat from carrying tofu, and you'd handed him a wedge of watermelon. He'd smiled, grateful. "Master Yang," he'd said, "you're a good man." The next day he was dead. During the brief moments when they let you into the prison yard for air, you finally see Lotus again. She is a ghost of herself now, emaciated, her once dark hair streaked with white. Chains clink around her ankles as she moves, the sound grating against the stone floor. She looks up at you. For just 1 second, her eyes flash with pain, regret, something almost human. Then under the harsh bark of the guard, she drops her gaze. You notice a new bruise at the corner of her mouth, fresh and purple, proof of another night of interrogation. When your sister makes her second trip to the capital, it is the first month of the 3rd year of Emperor Guangxu's reign. A letter arrives for you in prison, edges stiff with frost. The ink has bled into the paper where melted snow seeped through. "I have spoken to the left censor-in-chief. He promises to review your case within 10 days. Do not lose hope, little brother. I will get you out." You run your fingers over the damp fibers of the letter, imagining her trudging through the frozen streets of Beijing. You can see her, wrapped in her faded purple jacket, hair hastily tied with a strip of cloth, clutching the last of the family's silver money raised by selling off the land, bowing and pleading at every official's door. Your heart aches with memory. When you were a boy, she gave you the only egg in the house while she ate nothing but hard cornbread. "Study hard, Naiwu," she'd said. "A scholar needs brains, and brains need good food." The summons from the capital arrives sooner than you expect. By the time you are escorted to Beijing, the moat around the forbidden city is still frozen solid, its surface a dull gray mirror. Bare willow branches scratch against the winter wind like skeletal fingers, just like the tools of torture hanging in your memory. The hearing room is warm with brazier heat, but you feel colder than in your cell. 7 high-ranking officials sit in front of you. In the center, a white-bearded elder taps the wooden gavel, his voice steady but softer than Lu Sitong's ever was. "Yang Naiwu, recount your story from the beginning. We have reviewed the Yuhang County records and found many irregularities in the autopsy report." You glance down the hall and notice a young man in a gray tunic, a steel pen tucked into his belt. You later learn he's a reporter from the Shenbao newspaper, who has been investigating your case for weeks. Taking a breath, you start from the beginning. Your scholar's banquet, your history of grudges with Lu Sitong, and the brutal torture that forced your false confession. When you reach the part about Lotus's testimony, your throat tightens. "Your Excellencies," you plead. How could a simple village woman know the recipes from Compendium of Materia Medica? If she had truly planned to poison her husband, why would she sweep my study every morning even after the so-called crime? Murmurs ripple through the officials. The white-bearded elder nods slightly, his sharp eyes catching every detail. Beside him, the reporter scribbles furiously. the scratching of his pen on paper sounding like your sister sewing by the dim light of an oil lamp. The day the Ministry of Justice orders the exhumation, the sky is heavy with black clouds. You are escorted to Haihui Temple, where the coffin waits. The courtyard is already packed with townsfolk, murmuring like an approaching tide. From a high spot, the Shenbao reporter adjusts his camera, ready to capture every detail of this turning point. Among the crowd, you spot your sister. Her hair has gone completely white, but her back remains straight, her hand clutching the petition you wrote in blood. Even at this distance, you can see the lines of exhaustion etched into her face, a face that has fought the whole world for you. When the coroner pries open the coffin lid, the stench of decay sweeps through the courtyard. You squeeze your eyes shut as the voice of the presiding official, a stern minister of justice, cuts through the thunder. Examine the 7 orifices and nails. Test with a silver needle according to the washing away of wrongs. Thunder booms overhead, shaking the temple roof. Rain begins to hammer down on the tiles, each drop sharp as a drumbeat. You count your heartbeats, 1, 2, 3, until a gasp erupts from the crowd. The silver needle didn't blacken. No blue marks on the chest. A wave of voices bursts into cheers. You open your eyes just in time to see Lotus. She's standing a short distance away, pale and trembling, but when her gaze meets yours, a faint, fleeting smile touches her lips. That brief spark, fragile as lightning, slices through the 2 years of suffocating darkness inside you. 3 days later, at the public vindication ceremony, Liu Zhigtong is stripped of his office and paraded in shackles. 15 officials connected to the case are dismissed. You stand before the grand hall of the ministry, sunlight streaming through broken clouds, warm enough to make your eyes sting. Your sister fights her way through the crowd, throws her arms around you, and drops a greasy paper bundle. Your favorite osmanthus cakes, still warm. Naiwu. She chokes out. You've suffered so much. You notice the bruises peeking from her sleeves, the scars left by bandits on her journey to Beijing. She never mentioned how she had to pawn her wedding bracelets to scrape together the bribe money. You can feel the weight of her sacrifice pressing into your chest like a mountain. 7 days after your name is finally cleared, you see her again. Lotus. She's standing by the docks of Yuhang, dressed in plain homespun cloth, a battered bundle on her back. The river wind tugs at her clothes, and that's when you notice the red thread tied around her waist, a long life cord, the kind villagers believe can ward off evil. When she spots you, her hands fidget nervously with that red thread. Master Yang, she murmurs, voice uncertain, eyes flickering like candlelight. I once copied one of your calligraphy lines. As heaven moves, the gentleman should strive tirelessly. I wrote it on a handkerchief and read it over and over. You look past her at the endless flow of the river, remembering the long nights in prison, the silence, the moments when you could almost hear her breathing in the neighboring cell. Some things don't need to be said. They've already taken root in the dark, waiting for a sliver of light. Live well, you tell her softly. Find a decent family. Don't let the world break you again. From your sleeve you slip her a piece of silver. Her eyes widen, shimmering with unshed tears. But the boatman's shout jolts her. She turns in a hurry, stepping onto the creaking plank. Her patched skirt flutters like a wild flower growing out of the mud. The ferry bell rings, deep and resonant. You turn back toward the city, walking into the morning light. People pause to greet you along the street. Liz there, eager to host a banquet to celebrate your return. Madame Wang brings out fresh jujube cakes, exclaiming, Master Yang, you're truly a just man, a hero. You smile, nodding to them all. But when you pass the county yamen, you stop. The red gate remains tightly shut, its brass rings stained with green rust, like a wound that will never fully heal. Your sister takes your arm as you walk home. Somewhere nearby, children sing an old nursery rhyme. Little cabbage, growing in the field, lost her mother at 3. You remember Lotus's trembling confession on the court stand. Master Yang once told me, reading makes you smarter. In that grim age, even the smallest yearning for knowledge could become a twisted crime. The spring wind drifts through the alleys, brushing against the bamboo leaf embroidery your sister stitched onto your sleeve. And in that moment you realize, this injustice was never just about you and Lotus. It was the grinding machinery of feudal law, crushing lives like ants. It was the silent tears of women trapped in a world ruled by men. It was the shadow of an era pressing down on ordinary people. You and Lotus were nothing more than wildflowers struggling to bloom through cracks in the stone. But thanks to the Shenbao's relentless ink, the scholars' petitions, and the public outcry, that wildflower finally caught a glimpse of the sun.